Every deer season, a hunter somewhere in this country draws back a $1,500 bow and it comes apart in his hands. A cracked carbon arrow shatters and drives splinters through his palm. A dry-fired cam turns to shrapnel beside his face. And that's a calm morning at a foam target before anything with claws is involved. But the safest hunting bow this continent ever knew was a piece of wood, and my people traded them across half the plains. Today I'll show you 5 bows that put men in the emergency room and the one that doesn't. I'm Wes Kingfisher. I'm 64 years old. I'm of Cherokee heritage, and I was raised by my grandmother Ada in the hills of eastern Oklahoma, where I still live today. She taught me the plants and the kitchen. My grandfather and my uncles taught me the bow and the ground it works on. And 40 years on the powwow trail taught me the rest. From the northern plains to the desert, the old ones never wrote any of this down. So listen close. Here's how we'll run it. 5 bows, counted 1 to 5, each with the exact way it hurts people, and the fix if you already own one. Then the one that doesn't, and that bough is hanging beside my door right now, made from one branch of one tree. Hold that thought. Bough number 1, the bargain package bough. You've seen it. A full camo compound kit on a website. Bow, rest, sight, quiver, and 6 arrows shipped to your porch for less than a good pair of boots. That kit looks like a small decision. It isn't. Nobody measured your draw length. Nobody matched those 6 arrows to that bow. They come in one stiffness for every man in America. And nobody at that warehouse hands you the warning the arrow companies print themselves. Easton, the biggest name in arrows there, ships a warning that says, never shoot a damaged arrow because a damaged arrow can break on release and injure you or the man beside you. Carbon doesn't bend and stay bent the way old aluminum did. Carbon holds a crack quiet, then lets go all at once, and at full draw those splinters have one direction to travel, and your bow hand is standing in the road. An experienced archer took an arrow maker to court over exactly that, a carbon shaft that shattered on release and went into his hand, and the jury sided with him. So here's the 10-second check my uncles drilled into me, done on modern gear. Hold the arrow at both ends, flex it away from your body, an inch or 2 of bend. Turn it a little and flex again all the way around, and listen. A tick or a crackle means that arrow is done. Break it over your knee so nobody shoots it. Check them new out of the package, and check again after every hard hit and every miss into the dirt. The bargain kit saves you a couple $100 at the register. The hand surgeon charges considerably more. I'd rather you spend the 10 seconds. Now, that 10-second arrow check is the kind of thing a grandfather used to hand a boy for free. And that handing down dying out is why I wrote the old knowledge down. The book is called The Native American Way. 101 remedies, skills, and recipes from the old ways. The knowledge my grandmother Ada and the elders of Indian country handed me around 1,000 fires, written down plain. The backyard plants the old ones trusted, the teas and salves from Ada's kitchen, wild foods, food preservation, fire and shelter and water, and the recipes that fed the people through winter. It's $17, marked down from $47. That flagship bow costs about 90 of these books. 10,000 years of testing. That's the guarantee on this one. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, bow number 2, and this one hides in plain sight because it's the one everybody brags about. The ego bow. Somewhere along the line, draw weight got tangled up with manhood, and every fall I hear a fella at the counter of a sporting goods store ordering 80 pounds like he's ordering a steak. My grandfather had a rule about that, and it hasn't lost a step in 60 years. If you can't sit flat on the cold ground and draw that bow slow and level without pointing it at the sky first. It doesn't fit you. And a bow that doesn't fit you will find a way to hurt you. If you want your honest weight, run the chair test my uncles ran on us boys. Sit in a kitchen chair, point the bow straight at the target, draw it in one smooth pull, no skyward heave, no grunting, and hold steady while you count 10 Mississippi. If you can't, come down 10 pounds and try again. No deer alive will notice those missing 10 pounds, and your shoulder will thank you every cold morning of the season. Ask any shoulder doctor in a deer state what his November looks like. Torn rotator cuffs have ended more hunting seasons than the weather has, and the modern cams make it sneaky. The new flagships hold at 80, even 85% let off, which means at full draw, that 80-pound bow rests in your fingers like it weighs almost nothing. Easy to hold, so men buy poundage for the holding, and forget the shoulder pays full price for the pulling, every draw, all season in the cold. Now stack the second danger on top. An 80-pound compound at full draw is storing a wagon load of energy, and that energy has exactly one safe place to go, into the weight of a nocked arrow. Turn that string loose with no arrow on it, what the bow shops call a dry fire, and every ounce of that energy stays home in the bow. Limbs crack, strings jump the cams, little pieces of machined aluminum go looking for soft places to land, and your face sits 18 inches away. It happens to careful men. A knock slips, a cold thumb fumbles. Every owner's manual on the rack carries the same dry fire warning, and plenty of bow shops keep a wrecked one behind the counter, the way old-timers kept a jar of rattlesnake heads. The old ones never needed that conversation, because a bow got sized to the man who would pull it, the same way you'd size a horse or an axe handle. We'll come back to that, because the next bow on this list doesn't stop at hurting the man holding it. Bow number 3, the speed bow, wearing featherweight arrows, and this is the one behind the picture on this video. Walk the bow aisle at any sporting goods store, and every box hollers feet per second at you. The newest flagships advertise 348 feet per second, and the number climbs every year because speed is easy to print and easy to sell. What the box leaves out is how they earn that number. With the lightest arrow the rating allows, and a light arrow is a tack hammer. It leaves fast, it sheds its energy fast, and when it meets an elk's shoulder bone, it quits. Nobody splits a white oak round with a tack hammer swung hard. You split it with 8 slow pounds of maul, because getting through heavy material is a weight job, not a speed job. Don't take my word for it. Take the state of Alaska's. To hunt brown bear or moose up there, the regulations require at least 50 pounds of draw weight and an arrow at least 20 inches long, weighing at least 300 grains with the broadhead on. Read that rule, book top to bottom, and you will not find one word about speed. The state, living with the biggest animals on this continent, wrote weight into law and left feet per second to the marketing men. Here's what the wrong setup costs. A featherweight arrow catches shoulder blade and stops like it hit a barn door. The animal runs off carrying your broadhead and your mistake. On a whitetail in Ohio, that's a sick feeling and a lost blood trail. In grizzly country, that's a different afternoon entirely, because now somebody follows blood into the alder thickets after a wounded bear. A grizzly runs about 35 miles an hour. Back in the 30s, a Yellowstone ranger rode up a grizzly that chased a car at 28 miles an hour for 2 solid miles, so don't count on one quitting. The men who guide bear hunters for a living say it plain. The most dangerous animal in this country is the one somebody already hit. Now look at that picture on this video again. The man with the wooden bow and the bear coming through the shallows. Folks see it and figure the wooden bow must be the wrong bow. Friend, the wrong bow did its damage earlier that morning, and it was probably bragging about its speed. Our people out on the plains drove wooden arrows clean through bison, the biggest animal on the grass, with heavy shafts at close range from the back of a running horse. The old travelers who wrote about that country recorded it. Most bands had men known for putting an arrow all the way through a buffalo, heavy and close. That's the whole recipe, and it's older than the state that wrote it into law. Which brings us to a bow that promises you'll never need any skill at all. That promise has cost a lot of good men a thumb. Bow number 4, the crossbow that thinks it's a rifle. Now hold on, before anybody writes me a letter. Crossbows keep a lot of good hunters in the timber. Bad shoulders, 70-year-old elbows, a back that's done a lifetime of lifting. I've got friends from the circuit who hunt with one, and I'm glad they still can. The tool has its place. The promise it makes is the dangerous part. It shoulders like a rifle and it scopes like a rifle. So a man's hands do what 40 years of rifles taught them, and that's where the trouble starts. On most crossbows, the forearm your front hand holds is less than 3 inches wide, and the whole rig is front heavy. The natural, comfortable grip floats your thumb up beside the flight rail, right in the road of the string. That string comes down the rail at 350 feet per second and better. It doesn't cut like a knife. It rips. Hunters have lost thumbs and fingers by the dozen. Engineers write papers about it. And one big crossbow maker was staring at about 30 injury lawsuits at one point over this exact thing. A thumb resting in the wrong half-inch of air. So burn this in. When that string is cocked, treat it like a loaded chamber, and your fingers live below the rail, all of them, all of the time. Wrap them low like you're cradling eggs. If your model has a thumb guard, use it, and if it doesn't, an add-on guard costs less than a tank of gas, and it is the cheapest insurance in the sport. Then there's the second promise, the scope. Glass that dials to 100 yards whispers that you can shoot 100 yards. But a crossbow bolt is still an arrow. It drops like an arrow, it drifts in the wind like an arrow, and a deer hears the string and moves before it lands. The thing looks like a rifle. The arrow doesn't know that. Keep your shots inside the range, where you hold a paper plate every single time, same as any bow. And check your own state's regulation book before you carry any of this into the field, the same way you check the weather. Now, bow number 5 isn't in any store. It's hanging in your garage right now. Bow number 5, the hand-me-down. Somebody you loved owned a recurve. It's been on 2 nails in the garage since 1979, strung the whole time, with a leather quiver of cedar arrows going to powder beside it. And one Thanksgiving, you take it down to show a grandkid what real shooting looked like. Friend, set it back on the nails and let me tell you what all those years of tension do. A bow left strung for decades has been at work the entire time. The glue lines in those old laminated limbs let go quiet, the same way a carbon arrow holds its crack quiet. And the fiberglass looks fine, right up until a limb splits alongside your ear. The old string has been rotting in the dark, and a string that snaps at full draw hands you a taste of a dry fire. Those pretty cedar arrows have spent 4 decades drying into kindling that can snap on release. Same injury as the carbon, older wood. I watched it happen at a gathering one summer. A man brought his father's bow out for the young people. First pull in 30 years, and the top limb folded like a green branch. He wasn't hurt, but he stood there holding 2 halves of his daddy's bow, and that's its own kind of hurt. Now here's the part that matters. The years were never the danger. My grandfather's hickory bow is older than that garage recurve, and I would hunt with it this evening because the knowing came down with the wood. Unstring a wooden bow when it rests, wax the string. Oil the wood, watch the grain, check it the way you check your arrows. An old bow with the knowledge behind it is an heirloom. The same bow without the knowledge is an accident on a nail. And that's the door to the last bow on this list, because the one bow that doesn't put men in the emergency room is also the oldest design on this continent, done right. The one that doesn't, there's a bow hanging beside my door right now. 66 inches of Osage orange cut on this place, shaped down with a draw knife over winter evenings, nothing on it but wood, a string I twisted myself, and a little bare grease rubbed into the grain. It pulls 53 pounds at my draw. My uncle helped me rough out my first one the year I turned 30, And everything I know about why it works, I learned with the shavings around my boots. Start with the tree, because the tree is half the story. The French traders, coming up the rivers, met our bows before they met most of our nations, and they named the tree itself Bois d'Arc, wood of the bow. Folks today call it Osage orange, or hedge apple, or bow d'Arc. The Department of Agriculture's own wood data ranks it at the top of American timbers for how much punishment it soaks up before it fails. And the old trade economy knew its worth long before any laboratory. Around 1810, up on the northern plains, the recorded price of one finished Osage bow was a horse and a blanket. Sit with that a second. A horse. Bows from the home groves down in my part of the country traveled 2,000 miles in trade all the way to the Blackfeet in Montana. My people ran a bow trade across half a continent, and the product was one shaped branch. And Osage isn't the only tree in this story. Back east in the hardwood hills where I was raised, the boughs were hickory and black locust, tall, flat-limbed longbows for slipping through close timber. Different tree, same thinking. My grandfather's bow is black locust cut off this very place. Out on the open plains, the short horse boughs of ash and chokecherry got backed with sinew and hide glue so they could bend deep and live at a gallop. Down in the desert country, it was sinew-backed juniper. Every nation raid its own land and matched the bow to the country and to the man, which is the exact fitting the bargain kit skips. The tree changed with the territory, and the thinking traveled with the people. So what does a shaped branch do that $1,500 can't? Watch today's list run backward. The bargain bow bit, because nothing was matched to anybody. A wooden bow is tillered to one man. You, or the bowyer, scrape it thin a pass at a time until both limbs bend even. At your draw, your arms, your strength, and a bow fitted like that doesn't fight you. The ego bow tore shoulders because let off hid the truth. Wood has no let off. Every pound is honest in your fingers from the first inch. So a man buys the weight he can truly pull, and then he pulls it for 40 years. The speed bow wounded animals because it chased feet per second. A wood arrow comes out heavy on its own. Cedar, dogwood, river cane, comfortably past the 300 grains Alaska writes into law. And heavy is what carries a sharp edge through an animal quick and clean. And I'll say this plain so nobody mistakes this for a toy. A 50-pound Osage bow with a heavy broadhead arrow is legal by the letter of Alaska law for brown bear. The oldest design on the continent clears the strictest big game standard in the country without breathing hard. The crossbow took thumbs because it hid a string inside a machine. On a self bow, there is nowhere for a finger to hide and nothing you can't see. No rail, no cams, no cables, no trigger. You can inspect every inch of the thing you're trusting in daylight with your own eyes. And the garage bow failed because the knowledge didn't come down with it. This bow is nothing but the knowledge. Now any bow can break, wood included, and I won't tell you different, but a tired wooden bow usually tells on itself first. It lifts a splinter along the back. It shows you a hinge. It whispers before it shouts. Where fiberglass and carbon keep the secret to the end, and if a 50-pound self bow ever does let go, you're holding 2 pieces of wood, and that's about the whole event. There's one more piece, and the catalogs can't sell it because it was never for sale. A wooden bow is honest about its range. Inside 20, 25 yards, it's deadly. Past that, it asks you to come closer, and the coming closer is the education. You learn the wind, because a deer's nose works from farther than you'd believe. You learn to move when he feeds and freeze when his tail flicks. You learn his trails, his beds, his white oaks, his hour of the evening. The bow makes a woodsman out of you whether you planned on it or not, and a woodsman at 15 yards kills cleaner than a gadget at 60. Take what you need, use all of what you take, and get close enough to be sure. My grandmother fed a family on what the men carried home, and nothing shamed a hunter at her table faster than a wasted animal. That's the whole ethic, and this bow enforces it on its own. And if you figure this is one old man being sentimental, let me hand you the receipts, because the modern bow hunting world already agrees with me. It just forgets to say so out loud. 1911. A Yahi man the world came to call Ishi walked out of the hills of Northern California, the last of his people after everything those hills had seen. The young surgeon assigned to care for him was Dr. Saxton Pope. Ishi taught Pope and Pope's friend Arthur Young how to shape wooden bows, how to build arrows, how to call rabbits in close, how to hunt. Pope wrote it down in a book called Hunting with the Bow and Arrow, and those two men went on to take grizzly bears with wooden bows and light a fire under a whole country. By 1930, Wisconsin had certified the bow as a legal hunting weapon, first of the modern states, and the rest followed. A young fella named Fred Bear heard Pope and Young speak, and he went and built the biggest name in bows America ever had. And in 1961, when bow hunting finally built its own record book, they named it the Pope and Young Club. And that club's highest honor is called the Ishi Award to this day. That's their own history, in their own words. Every compound and every truck bed this October traces back hand to hand to one native man and a piece of wood. So when I tell you the old way is the sound way, understand, I've got no quarrel with modern bow hunting. I'm just pointing at where the whole thing started. If this bow is calling you, there are two roads. Find a bowyer, a real one who works wood, and get fitted the way you'd get fitted for boots, or take the older road. One straight grained stave, a draw knife, a scraper, and a winter of patient evenings, and you make the thing that will outlast you. Take one branch and leave the tree standing. Say Watto, that's thank you in my grandmother's language, and mean it. That tree gave 100 bows before yours, and it'll give 100 more after. 5 bows in the store will hurt you 5 different ways, and every one of those ways is a piece of missing knowledge with a price tag on it. The bow that doesn't hurt you is the one you have to understand before you can even string it. That was the old one's whole design. The weapon and the wisdom come as a set. That set is what I tried to save when I wrote The Native American Way. The old knowledge from the plants to the fire to the winter kitchen, written down plain enough to hand to a grandchild. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera and point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you will enjoy the video right now on screen even more. I can assure you on that. Click it right now, my friend.